Hello everyone, this is the LP1 working group session. So we just have 1 hour on a very dense agenda. So if you don't mind, we'll be rushing to it. Alex will pass the slides. Alexander, please.
Hello everyone. Yes, Pascal. So take the floor.
Okay, so we have changed the noteware a little bit this time because there is some emphasis which is being given to the code of conduct. So let's go through that. As usual, your reminder that there are a number of, not next slide, previous slide, please. As usual, you must be aware of the noteware of the IETF, which involves IPR in particular. So if you're aware of any IPR that is being discussed, a new IPR that's being discussed today, please notify the group or the chairs after the meeting, or refrain from discussing the ideas in this IPR. Next slide. So yes, the super noteware has to do with the anti-harassment guidelines and procedures. So as you know, we have a number of best practices in the IETF, and in particular, we care about respect others and do not harass others as a baseline for the relationship within the IETF. So there is actually this group called ombudsperson, which you can join if you feel that you have been subject of harassment or treated discourteously. So please don't hesitate to join them. Harassment will not be welcome in this group and this mailing list. Next slide. And all these IPR, anti-harassment, and code of conduct are all best practices RFC, so you can find them all online. If you're willing to discuss with the chairs or the AD, please do. Next slide. So as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. We are actually recording it and publishing it on YouTube. If you don't want your voice to be published on YouTube, please refrain from speaking. That's the only way. Presence is logged automatically, so there is no blue sheet. Mitico takes care of the blue sheets for us, but Mitico does not take care of the minutes. So please don't hesitate to join the CodeEMD. The link is given on the page here. It's on the IETF agenda. That's where the minutes are being captured. If you want to make sure that what you said was captured correctly, please go and validate the text or rewrite it yourself, just to make sure that your message passes correctly. And the helping on the minutes is welcome. Next slide, please. Okay, so do we have Jabber? We don't have Jabber. Sorry, Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to ask, we need to get a minute taker. Either now, somebody that commits to do it after, based on the recording.
So, yes.
Yeah, I'll contribute to the notes. If somebody else could join, that'd be great.
Thank you, Dominic, for this. And of course, we'll be pitching in for the note-taking. And everyone is welcome to join the minute-taking efforts. Thank you, Dominic.
So as usual now, the chat will happen on WebEx, on Mitico itself. So you probably have found that on the left of your screen, you've got those 2 buttons. One shows the people, like 35 people, and next to it there is those phylacteries things. If you click on that, that's a chat, and that's what replaces Jabber. Next slide, please. So the agenda, as I said, is pretty dense, so I don't have much more time to just go through it. We'll be having a few words on the state of the architecture and where we want to go with this. Then 15 minutes with Laurent giving us the latest on the Young data model. Then 2 drafts, which derive from the work on Sigfox by Juan Carlos. Next slide, please. Then that will be Anna showing us the progress on SHIC over NB-IoT. An interesting status of how SCHC is being adopted now at the LoRa Alliance. That will be Dominique. And then the last few words on the work that we try to move to interior, the SCHC over PPP, and the status and making decisions of the future of this document. Next slide. Oh, anybody wants to change anything in this agenda before we move on? I'm hearing nothing, so we will stick with this agenda. So here is the status. We are good on SCHC co-op as promised. The baseline technologies we have covered LoRaWAN, and now we have Sigfox on the work, so we're pretty good. The data model, we appear to be a bit late. Before we decide for another date, maybe we should assess the progress and the work that has to be done. So we'll discuss with Laurent during his talk. And then we have LPWAN SCHC over Sigfox, which looks in good shape. So Juan Carlos will tell us about that. Next slide, please. So that's pretty much where we are. As you can see, the architecture has not been worked on. And Alex will discuss that, but we plan to kick it again. And well, the other documents are evolving nicely. Next slide.
This one is the last one.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the next slide will be actually you. One quick information before we go to the different presentations. The way we try to do it this time is that everybody will own his own slides, but we uploaded already the slides to Mitico. There is this new feature that Alexander is demonstrating right now. If you look below your name on the top left of the screen, there are slides, and the speaker will be allowed to. The second button from the left, you have join queue, and then you've got this page which is kind of right now barred. With this, you can select a slide deck within the preloaded slide decks. And so we'll ask you to select your slide deck within that, and that will allow you to do the navigation without sharing your screen. Okay, that's the way we plan to do it. And that's exactly what Alexander is doing now with the LP1 architecture. Alexander, the ball is yours.
Yes, thank you, Pascal. Of course, if you have any difficulties with actually sharing your slides, you can just tell me, and I'll be changing the slides for you. So with this one, and actually before jumping to the LPWAN architecture overview, I would like to say a couple of words for our progress since the last time. So we didn't held any interim meetings, and of course work progressed, but it progressed at a pace that's let's say less visible than when we had the interims. So this is why we'll be having interims starting the month of December. So there are already 2 that have been planned, and more will come right after. We are profiting from this IETF to actually give the status give a little refresher of the LPWAN architecture. And so I think I have a little bit too much slides for the a couple of minutes that are left. So I'm just going to go through, like, you know, the general architecture that we have. We have the devices, the radio gateways, the network gateway, and the application server. So this is the architecture that we have since the start. And just as a refresher, so we have different technologies, and in each of the technologies you have like the specific terminology per technology, and the technology that the terminology that we decided to use within in the IETF documentation. So this is like a pretty high level overview. Of course, I'm not going to go over all the details. I mean, you have that in the slide, so you can get back to it to review it. But basically, what we have in this document as of today is the point is that we would like to provide the reference architecture when we have 2 modes. The one is that the SCHC, where we have the SCHC device and the SCHC gateway. That's like in the more traditional IoT setting, and then when we have the SCHC peers, such as in the PPP document. But yesterday on 6law there was this discussion about, okay, how are we using this terminology, and how does that work in mesh networks where there is no uplink and downlink that is as clearly defined, you know. So these are things that go into this SCHC architecture, and of course how all these things bind together with the Yang data model. So these are things that are discussed and that will be discussed more in the SCHC architecture. So don't be also one thing that the authors of this document would like to express is to not hesitate to also ping us to, if you have if you would like some issues and some questions treated before the other ones, right? Because we also there is a lot of things that we'll need to describe, and getting some input on what is precious for you on the first time is of course quite important for us. So yes, I mean, you have the device talking to the network application, how everything works together, and you know that when the device talks to the SCHC gateway, you have the rule manager that manages the rules, and then we have the compressor, and the fragmenter, refragmenter, and we have the same setting, but you know, if it's in a more symmetric view, and if it's in a SCHC peer setting, such as the PPP document. So with this, the next step in the architectural document and in the architectural draft, and with Pascal, we are really ambitious about this document, so we would like to get it out. We would like to get it fast. In its next steps is really to go through the life cycle of how the whole SCHC life cycle works, right? So please don't hesitate to ping us and to ping the LPWAN working group on, you know, what's important for you, and in any case we'll be advancing it with it in in this general order. So do you have any questions or any suggestions or remarks? I hear no questions. And with this, then I will give the floor to our next presenter,
Laurent.
Laurent, thank you. I was about to. So, Laurent, can you?
I try.
So see, you find the button on the top left. Yes, share preloaded slides. It's called. It's next to the hand that you just press.
Okay. So no,
you say share.
Where is share? I don't see it.
Okay. Well, you select one and you click on it. You should see a list of slides, right? A gray list.
Yes, but I click and it opens another window. So can you share it and it will?
I can. I would have liked you to do it. Did you double click? Press it and share? That's.
I don't see it. So.
When it enlarges the window, you can press share.
Yeah, I see it. Okay. As to share, but then where do I go? Cancel slide. I don't see my slides.
There's a list. So you press the button.
Yeah, but when I click on the slide, it opens a new window.
Yes, which says choose a deck to share, and it scrolls.
Yeah.
And here you should see data model is the fourth, maybe.
Yeah, yes, I click on it, but it's open a new window. And
yes, it opens something new, and then on the bottom it says share or dismiss. Share in blue and dismiss in red. Please press share.
I don't see it.
Okay, I will do it.
Okay, sorry. Or it's here. Maybe I'm not in. Okay. So you are sharing
maybe I did not allow you to share. Let me check because I was not clicking on you.
Okay, no problem. So it's
let's
not
move
a
on.
difficult presentation.
We'll try again.
So yes, I'm gonna present the new version that has been uploaded into the GitHub repository, and so it's a version that is published in August. and I will give you the difference between this version and the previous one that has been presented at during the past IETF session. So next slide, please. All right. So here, so there is some cosmetic things like adding a dash between the name to be closer, to be better understood and be closer also to what we find in RFC 8724. So next slide. So here we have also something that has been requested is to use the acronym instead of field ID type. We use FID, we use FL to be very close to what we have in VRFC. So that's another difference. Next slide. So more important change is that for the target values definition, we had a union before between binary and string. And here we remove the string and we keep only binary for two reasons. The first one is that it's simpler to manage. And when we will use the data model, it will be easier to determine if it's a binary value. And it will be, and we will know the type by the field ID. So we don't need to have two things. So it's a simplification on that. Next slide. A very simple thing also, we remove S to target value because to be coherent with the rest of things. So next slide.
Laurent, if I may, can you see below the slides like a line with the numbers?
No.
Okay. Because I pressed something called shared preloaded slides. So you should grant preloaded slide or something. So you should have that. Okay, we'll try with the next presenter. So let's keep on.
Okay, sorry. So the other change in this the container chic. So first we remove what is dashed here. There was a version number, but this version number is not in the RFC. So we remove it to be coherent with the RFC. And we add a new type for the rules, which is no compression, which is used when no rules can be selected. Okay, next slide. So we add also L2 word that was missing and is present in the RFC. Next slide. Here we add something that was required by Juan Carlos for the compound hack. It's the behavior and how the acknowledgement is done, either using the RFC 8724 or to use the compound act that is defined by the draft that will be presented after. Next slide. So here, that's the definition that has been added also in.
Questions, you take questions at the end, or would you like to have them?
Oh, right now, if you want, no problem.
Okay. So chair hat off. I would like to ask a question. If you go back to the previous slide, so about the compound act. If I remember correctly, we said that this extension will be actually in the compound act draft as a Yang extension of the baseline Yang data model. Do I remember correctly, or
maybe there is two possibilities. So what I understood, but maybe I'm wrong, was to ask in the compound act document to add things to the Yang model. But the other approach could be to extend the Yang model only based on 8724, and then we augment the model with a new draft. So I don't know what's the best to do.
I think that we decided that we need to have an extension because the Yang data model is covers 8724, and before there is no compound act.
Okay, because it covers 8724 and 8824. So either we expect the other one to be published soon, or we just base it on RFC. Maybe it's a better solution, but we can change it. It's not a problem. So
as long as I remember, that was also what we discussed, was that this will show how extensions are done.
okay, so, yes, that's a good training for the future.
Yeah, I also asked that question on the mailing list, but I had lost my memory about that point. And because yes, I saw that you are doing something, and Juan Carlos is also doing something in his draft, and it's so maybe effectively, just as Alex said, just to show how you extend, we should not consider at all the Juan Carlos's draft in here, and do everything in Juan Carlos's draft.
Okay, no problem.
Just to show how extensions are done, as Alex said.
Okay, no problem. Can do to that. Next slide, please. Okay, so here it's more a question, but I already talked with Dominic of that, and we have to update it. Is that we had a maximum window size in the past, which was right now when you define FCN size, you can use up to 2 power FCN size minus 2 for the value, but you can also reduce this value, and this is given by this. And I didn't find it in the RFC, but with Dominic, we locate it in the RFC, so I will have to update also this field, if I'm correct. So next slide. So what is new also is that we put relation between the different leaves in the model. For example, here, what we say is that if you have a matching operator, so if it's ignored, it doesn't need a target value, and for the other cases, a target value has to be defined. And same thing if we have matching operator, if we have LSB, MSB, it requires also to have argument after that. So we have these 2 tests that has been introduced in the Young model. And next slide. And same thing for error test. For when we have Acon error, we force only this value, tie size, and all these things to be present only if we are in Acon error. Next slide. So maybe we can have also other relations. So one of them can be, for example, to test if the MSB argument is less than the field length, because otherwise it is not possible, but I don't know how to do it in Young. And maybe also to check if we have LSB and MSB or map send on match mapping. So there is a link between these 2 ones, so we can check it, but it's not specified in the RFC. So I don't think it's useful to do it. And if you have other ideas of relation between information in the data model, so please tell us. Next slide. So in conclusion, we have something that is quite stable now, except what you say about Componac, but it's very easy to change. So it means that I think it's very mature now. It has also been tested during the hackathon. So we introduced the Young model into OpenShift, and now we're able to transform JSON OpenShift format to the Young model format. So, and we use also Youngson, which is a Python module, to check the validity of the rule and to check the link between the value in the data model, and it works well. So it has been pushed to the OpenShift repository, but it needs to be finalized, but it's in a good way. And finally, next slide. So the next slide is an example of this, I think. Yes, so here is a check data model on next slide. is what we get with the young data model to represent part of the rule. And the next slide is the relation between all the drafts. So here we have to change, but my view was to integrate things. If we just keep the thing in green, so if we will go to the young data model, and what is in orange, so OAM and the Componac will be extension of the basic data model. That's all. And here it's a summary of what we have done and changed in the young tree.
You're perfectly in time, Laurent. That's fabulous. Do we have any more questions?
So I would ask a question about when do you feel that do you think that we need to show it again to the young doctors?
So for me, it's ready to be shown. Even if we extend the model and we move Componac and we put it in over the things, it doesn't change the philosophy of the model. So it's ready to be reviewed.
So do you think that we can have a working group last call by the end of the year?
Or before?
Before. Okay.
So actually, a question to our AD here, Eric. What's the step when we want to do work group last call and we want to have a validation by the young doctor? Can that be done at the same time, or do we need to do first the young and then the last call? Eric, I don't know. Sorry, Eric, I don't know if it's just me, but or if it's background noise, but it seems that you're far from your microphone, and sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. It was not coming very well to me. I don't know for the others.
Okay, I will try to come closer and speak slower.
It's good now.
Process-wise, you can do both at the same time. And typically, during the working group last call, you can ask as well the young doctors review. If we are confident into the young model, that's the way to go. Else, if we are unsure about the young model itself, then it's better, I think, to go to the young doctor first, because if they need to change, then we need, of course, to do a working group last call or the change. It's basically a matter of confidence, not a matter of process.
I mean, it went through the Youngson tool. And anyway, the group itself, I mean, we can check the data, but the structure, I know we cannot give much feedback. So.
And it went to the young doctors, right? A couple of months ago.
Well, that was what I was.
Yes, he went to a young doctor, but I think he has no more time to review the document. So we have to find another doctor.
And Eric, I think it was with your help, right? You were the one who actually triggered that. So
you did it, but I explained you how to do it.
Oh, that's how it happened, because I don't remember how I could have done that. Okay, so should I do the same again then, I guess?
Yeah, my understanding is Laurent will need to make a minor fixes in the coming days. So once it's done, then ask the young doctors.
Okay.
My suggestion.
And do you know how much time that takes approximately? Is it a matter of weeks or a matter of till the end of year?
You should ask for, let's say, 2 weeks revision.
Okay.
And that's they really do it, right? It's pretty much like any directorate. They act like a directorate.
Okay.
It depends on the good.
And normally it will be easier because I follow all the comment he made about the presentation and also to add relation between data. So I think it's in a better shape than before the first review.
Cool. Many thanks, Laurent. I guess we need to move on with the next. And the next will be Juan Carlos. Can you jump to the queue, Juan Carlos? I will try again to give you the access to the decks. So, Juan Carlos,
Okay.
I don't see you.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. Right, it works.
All right. So, hello everyone. Juan Carlos Zúñiga here, and I'm going to present together with Sergio about the latest updates on the SHIC over Sigfox. Just as a reminder, since what has happened since IETF 111, we first made a revision from 5 to 6, where we added the SHIC compound DAC mechanism. Then we had the discussion about what to do with this compound DAC to make it generic. And following the decision from the group, we made it a separate document. So from 6 to 7, we split the compound DAC as a generic mechanism, and the Young model description was added to the SHIC compound DAC. And just as a reminder, we are going to talk about the compound DAC right after this, but now I'm talking about the SHIC over Sigfox. So then after doing that split, from revision 7 to 8, we added some more normative references to the compound DAC, of course, and the usage that has to be done in SHIC over Sigfox, together with signaling examples and abort definition. So that's mainly what we have concentrated in this last version of the SHIC over Sigfox. Then there were some events in the hackathon, and I would let Sergio speak over them.
Hello, we did a small hackathon with the SHIC over Sigfox draft. The idea was to propose a real case scenario. In this case, we talk about a mini weather station, and the objective was to measure at least temperature and humidity and send it via a JSON file to, while using SHIC over Sigfox. In this case, we use the LOPI and the Pythons. And the code base that we use is the one that is in GitHub right now, that is the SHIC over Sigfox project. Next slide, please. In the results that we got, well, we implemented the solution using 2 threads. One thread was used to do all the sensing, and the other thread was used to handle all the SHIC over Sigfox communication, all the fragmentation, transmissions, retransmissions. And we connected both threads using a list. In this case, there you can see the JSON file format. We use 2 examples. The first one also sent temperature, humidity, battery voltage, and light. And the second one only got the temperature and humidity. The first case, we got 7 SHIC fragments. That is exactly 1 window. And in the second case, we got 4 SHIC fragments. And well, on the right, you can see the results. In case 1, there are the fragment compressed numbers and the payload. And in case 2, we can see the payload already reconstructed and how we were able to graph all the temperature and humidity. And we got like nice results. Thank you.
Thanks, Sergio. So yeah, with that, what we are doing now is verifying these latest details on the implementation. We would like to probably test one more use case, which is the asset tracking. But otherwise, we believe it's advancing well, this draft. Something that we need to keep in mind is the dependencies, and we just spoke about the one for Young and the SHIC compound DAC. Well, we have to bear in mind that this draft also has dependency on the SHIC compound DAC, so there's a triple dependency there that we need to advance. I'm going to share now the next slides for the compound DAC. And meanwhile, are there any questions about the SHIC over Sigfox?
So yes, maybe the question is, do you think that the document is now ready for working group last call? Because it seems to me that it's being, it's being quite steady and with some implementations already, for some time now.
The document, I mean, we still added a few more details, and I guess once we have the other two documents stable, the Young and the Compound Act, or in our case the Compound Act, then we will be able to make the changes and do a last call. So we're really close to it. We just want to make sure that the dependencies are stable enough so that we can make the correct adjustments.
Okay. So you're making reference to the Compound Act in the Sigfox document.
Yeah, that's right. So we make it a normative reference, and then we want to make sure that Compound Act is stable enough so that we can move.
Thank you.
Okay. So now moving on to the Compound Act. Again, this it started as definition and examples that were added to SCHC over Sigfox in revision 6. And then this decision was made to make this draft separate. We implemented the SCHC Compound Act, and we have tested it over Sigfox. We posted the draft applying to generic LP1 technologies in July, and we did a small revision in October 21. So since then, we had a last call that was held at the end of October, beginning of November 2021. And we got some feedback from Dominique just recently. So,
and from me, actually, Juan Carlos, in my review, there's this discussion about the data model, and we discussed it again today. What I would really like to see is Laurent to actually look at the data model piece that you have in the Compound Act as part of the workgroup last call. Laurent, if you could please do that. Go ahead, just speak, Laurent.
Yeah, the beauty is that Laurent is a co-author here, so
we already did it.
Okay, so you're happy with, because I see that you still kept in both places, so I was like, is this synced?
No, yeah, I was confused because I thought in the Compound Act we just say what you have to add to the Young data model, and here it's to have something that is independent. So we will change that.
Okay.
Right.
Because of my comment, that will be part of the workgroup last call resolution, actually.
Right. So otherwise, well, there was a last call then that we just ended, and as I was saying, that besides these dependencies, there was some feedback from Dominique. He made a couple of interesting points. I don't know if Dominique, you want to? Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to discuss them now? Do we have time? And did you have time to read the comments? Otherwise, we can take that offline. But I was curious, for example, if you use the compressed version of the bitmaps in your Sigfox implementation, because I don't quite understand how this would work.
Yeah, Sergio, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, I wanted to comment. Yeah, actually, I think that the compressed bitmap is not supported for the intermediate windows in this case, as the bitmap should be a fixed field size. So yeah, we need to fix that to make sure it says that only the last bitmap can be compressed. Actually, we were looking at that. The last bitmap can be compressed, but intermediate bitmap should be of fixed
so
size.
That needs to be written in the draft.
Yeah. Yeah, we will check it. Thanks
Sure,
for the
no
feedback.
In my review, there's also this question about NXD, the famous dreadful NXD of the SCHC RFC, which says what you need to provide in the profiles. And in the document, you seem to indicate that there are some things which should be in the profile, but then there is no such list. As you know, here is the extension to NXD, and it would be nice to see it more explicitly. Remember the list of things that have to be in the profile for every technology? At some point, you're saying by memory, what was that? Oh man, I forgot. But look at my review, and basically, I believe there should be a little section that would be complete NXD. That's pretty much where I am.
Okay, yeah, you're talking about the contact?
Yes, the Compact draft. There should be. I'm sorry, because this is, yes, that's about the Compact. The last call of the Compact.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So we will respond anyway to the comments from Dominic in detail on the mailing list. But if there are no more comments, I think this is it.
Okay, so thank you very much, Juan Carlos. So yeah, that will be the next thing, the response to the comments, and you know, integrate the part that comes from the Yang model. Yes, and Eric would like to maybe you can add a point on this. So do we keep the working group last call open, or do we?
Yeah, just remember my email of yesterday. At that point of time, there were no review. Then Dominique and Pascal has done some review, but having a third review by the working group should really show that the working group is behind these documents. And I understand that's very focused and very niche document, but having anybody not specific in Sigfox reading it and commenting, yes, it's nice, it's enough, right? I mean, but do it, right? Review it. Then say, even if you don't need to have comments, very long comments, to make a review. So please review.
Yes, and thank you, Eric, for that, for that precision, for that clarification. Do you think that we'll need to do a second working group last call if there is a Yang part included in that document, or is
I don't think so. It's kind of minor exchange. I mean,
okay?
I don't want to diminish the value of it, right? But it's not changing the protocol itself.
Yes, exactly. And
so no need to do a second group last call. Address the command and then request publication.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Eric. So thanks also, Juan Carlos. So that was pretty clear. So next up on the meeting is Chief over NB-IoT, and I'm going to switch to present for Anna. I'm going to just show the slides, and Anna, tell me next slide whenever you want it to be changed.
Thank you, Alex. Hello. Well, I will present this new version for NB-IoT. Next slide, please. We received some comments from the mailing list, principally from Ivo and Laurent. So we have put all these new inputs in this 6th version. Next slide, please. The most important changements are the terminology, where we use now the terminology from IETF. So instead of user equipment, we put device. And for the node V, we put radio gateway. And then for the network gateways, I put network gateways together with the name of the network gateway of the NB-IoT, because if not, I have to put network gateway 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. So it was better to leave. I think it was better to leave the name together with the network gateway for these devices. Next slide, please. The other changes is that instead of putting the I eliminate the idea of control plane and user plane and the status. So the architecture now is very flat, but this means that each network gateway will be a very principal device in the architecture. And so the network gateway MME and the network gateway CSGW that normally are in the same device are now different devices because their connections are different. One will be for a very small bandwidth with the MME, and the other is a normal radio connection with data for the CSGW. So that's the most important changes in this new version. Next slide, please. And what we want to add to this document that we want to work now is the manage for some profiles in order to take into account the delay tolerant transfer objects. So this is something new that we plan to work from now, because we think that is something that can be interesting for 3GPP in order to take SHIC in the in their architectures. And that's it. If you have some questions.
And thank you for doing all that work together with your co-authors on actually simplifying and the 3GPP architecture and expressing it with IETF terminology. On my side, I like this, the way it's presented. I'm not really sure about the future work that you are saying. I'll be really interested into following up to that. So thank you.
Edgar, do you want to add?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Edgar is here?
Yes, he's here. Go ahead, Edgar. Oh, we're not hearing you very clearly. Just some noise. So maybe he'll reconnect. So Anna, if I understand correctly, you've addressed a lot of the detail, a lot of the issues until now, and one of the points right now is for you to address this new element, and you will then consider that it's ready for working with last call.
That's one point that we were discussing with Edgar this Monday, is that this version 6 is really ready for last call. But if we want to work these delay tolerant transfer objects, then it's not ready. We need to work this part. So we work it in a new document, in a version 2 document, or we do it in this version 6. So
okay, so there is also Edgar that is joining now.
Yeah.
Edgar?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now it's good. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, the idea is that I think we are having a challenge to get SHIC in narrowband IoT into EPP. It has a little bit to do with the ecosystem adoption of narrowband IoT in general, because somehow the ecosystem is behind the let's say the standard. So the implementation of narrowband IoT, and in general the implementation of cellular IoT is behind what it has been standardized. So then somehow there is a reluctancy, and again maybe this is a personal reflection. There is a reluctancy to standardize additional features for massive cellular devices, because they haven't been catch up by the implementers with the current standard. So we would like to bring some kind of carrot for SHIC, so that we bring to the standard, to 3GPP, a reason so that we say, hey guys, if you take SHIC there is this additional motivation for you so that you can include it in the standard. And in addition to that, you are going to solve a huge problem that right now the terminals are having in cellular IoT, which is firmware's update over the air. And that's the reason for the delay tolerant feature. So we thought that if we help to solve that problem, which is a huge problem at the moment, so then we could have one additional, let's say, motivation to push this feature through 3GPP. So that is part of this motivation to bring up this to the draft.
Many thanks, Edgar. That's very enlightening. Now, guys, we have 10 minutes to finish, and we have 2 more presentations. We are straight on time, but we need to move on. Dominique, if you don't mind, the floor is yours.
Okay,
Can you try to present your slides? Try to go to share preloaded slides.
Us to share slides?
Yes.
Share preloaded slides in the top left, yes.
Okay.
Seems to be working.
Need to find
Find
mine.
your slides.
Share.
Yes. Oh, perfect, working.
Okay.
Okay, so now you see this bar on the bottom, you can move the slides.
Okay.
You should be seeing a bar on the bottom.
Yeah,
below your
with
slides.
arrows. Does that work? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, after years of working on Chick, this is a happy time where you see adoption, and so I wanted to report about that so that we can celebrate. So we're not. It's not quite complete, but pretty good shape at the lower lines. And the first driving use case is DLMS over LoRaWAN. So DLMS is widely used in the energy metering world for electricity and gas meters. And so the DLMS Association wanted to be able to use LoRaWAN as a transport for energy metering. And the question was how to do that, how to standardize that transport. And so there is already a DLMS over UDP over IPv6 stack. And so the proposal was to use SHIC over LoRaWAN to compress UDP and IPv6. And that's what was adopted. And so the nice thing is that you hardly have anything new to specify. Everything is already in place, just stitch the pieces together. And so a technical specification is being written right now at the LoRa lines, just to say how this works. And basically the spec is just a few pages. It says you shall use RFC 8724, RFC 9011, and that's about it. We do a few additional specifications that you might be interested in. One is to recommend shorter inactivity and retransmission timers than the defaults expressed in 9011 to shorten the latency a little bit. And also we recommend to, as you know, 8724 doesn't say what to do in case multiple compression rules match. It just says pick one that matches. And so in this document, we say pick one that minimizes the compression residue so that the messages are shorter. And that's it. That's what's in the document. And so the status is that we're going for adoption at the technical committee meeting of the LoRa Alliance next week, exactly a week from now. So the deadline for submitting the document was right in the middle of this meeting, and I was doing 2 things in parallel. Another one at the submitting that document at the LoRa Alliance. And after that, there will be the writing of the certification document, because the LoRa Alliance does certification, which the IETF doesn't do. So that's the next big chunk before all this gets in place. And future work, I'm not sure how far we will go into that direction, but would be to investigate if LoRaWAN can be used with Matter, the connected smart homes under the CSA Alliance. And so SHIC would then also be used to carry IPv6 over LoRaWAN in that context. So that's the work at the LoRa Alliance. I forgot to mention the editors of the technical specification. I think it's important to highlight the contribution by Aclio, Semtech, people that you know. Some of the chairs of this working group, for example, and contributors by many companies and institutions familiar to most of you in this working group. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dominique. And so go ahead, please, Pascal. You have 5 minutes.
Yes, I will present SHIC over PPP. So basically, we discussed how we can do SHIC over PPP. So we can do SHIC over Ethernet using PPPoE, and see if we have Ethernet, we have Wi-Fi. So basically, doing PPP gives us all the serial links, gives us point-to-point Ethernet, and gives us Wi-Fi. So that was kind of cool to do SHIC over PPP. But the problem was PPP is not part of the charter as one of the technologies that we support. So we decided to try our luck at Interia. So we did, and the document has spent pretty much a year at Interia. And I failed to get any command feedback return from Interia. Not much interest in SHIC, and probably not much interest mostly on PPP. It's this, even if Interia is supposed to do everything. I mean, this looks like a thing of the past for most people. It doesn't seem to raise a lot of interest. So we discussed with Eric, and we wondered how to best proceed with the future of this document. And the advice is probably that we should try to review it within this group. And once we pass reviews, I mean, Eric, please correct me if I'm wrong, but once we have passed those reviews, we would ask Eric for AD sponsored, so as to move on with this draft. Do you have it right, Eric?
I simply want to second what you said, and that's correct. So the expertise in SHIC is obviously in this group. So while this document cannot be adopted by the working group because it doesn't fit the charter, the experts are still in this working group. So I count on this working group to make a review. And then when you are basically done a kind of working group last call doesn't say its name because there's not a working group last call, but everyone is happy with it, Pascal, then just contact me over email and I will do the follow-up. So basically, AD sponsored is IETF stream. So it's pretty much like any working group RFC, except that there is no working group last call. But the rest is the same, right? There's an IETF-wide last call, ISG evaluation, and you can be a standards document. So basically, one other release, Pascal, if everyone is happy because the knowledge is in LP1, then contact me and I take over.
That's perfect. So that's pretty much where we are. So yes, I will post again on the mailing list asking people to review the draft. I think it's expired or getting expired. It is expired. So I will republish an 04 and ask, post to the LP1 mailing list to ask for reviews. And with this, we are concluding this meeting. So, question by Dominique. Go ahead, Dominique.
Yeah, just a technical detail. There's one little oddity in this draft is that you put the padding between the rule ID and the compression residue. So I wanted to discuss that. Maybe we should have something in the rules themselves that tell that the rule ID is padded or something. We can do it in a cleaner, more flexible, more extensible way than the way you did it. So let's talk about this.
That's something we started to discuss with Laurent as well. So yes, please help. Let's do it.
I see a list of possible co-authors here to your question.
Oh, yes, co-author would be welcome as well, Dominique. if you're
Time is the problem.
In any case, yes. It
But
always is.
yes,
And
that's
speaking about time, we're at
Scarce
the top of
resource.
the hour. Thank you very much, Dominique, for leading the minutes. It's really, really appreciated. We're always happy when you're in the working group. And thank you all for being here.
thank you,
Thank you,
Dominique.
Pascal. And thank you, Eric. Thank you all.
Thank
See
you all.
in
Meeting is
7th
adjourned.
of December. 7th of December is our next interim. See you then.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. You all take care.